I made a Flexbox tutorial for beginners that you can download in this page, link provided in the description. And also, if you want, you can download it from GitHub. If you download the tutorial, extract the contents of the zip file in your computer and then open them. To open them, I recommend VS Code, but you could open them with any plain text editor you want. You'll see these files. If you go into the instructions file, first of all, notice this is a .md file. It's a markdown file. Markdown is a special format for text. This is the raw version, and if we right click on it and then open preview, we see a formatted version. You can read through this because it explains you how this tutorial works. But we are also going through this in this video, so I'll skip that part. The exercise folder contains, as you may expect, the exercises. Directly underneath, there are some CSS files that only are here to make the tutorial look nice, so you don't have to worry about those. And then you have folders A, B, C, D, all the way up to J. Start with A, open it, and you'll see some folders and a README file. The README file is a markdown file, so right click on it, open preview, and in here it explains you a bit more about how these exercises work. This difficulty is very easy, some introduction, some important information about the files in the tutorial, and then this image is the end result for this exercise. So once you complete the exercise, your version should look like this. Let's look into the content of the level 1 folder. You have, as you see, level 1, level 2, and level 3. Start by level 1. Inside the level 1 folder, you have an index.html file. If you look at it, it's very simple. I won't go through the basics of HTML and CSS. I assuming you already know those. The important bit about this is this thing right here. This is an app element with a class container, and inside there are 3 children, which are divs, and each of them has a class item and then a number. Item 1, item 2, and item 3. You can apply styles to these individual elements using these classes. Now, if I right click on the index.html and I click on open with live server, I'll see how this HTML file looks like. If you don't see this open with live server, it's because you need to install a VS Code extension. In the instructions file, there is a link to this extension, so feel free to install it. Anyway, let's go back to the index.html file. In here you see 2 boxes. The first one on top is the version that you have to complete to finish the exercise. And the one on the bottom is how it should look like once you complete it. There is a wrapping box with a white margin, which corresponds to the container right here. And then there are 3 items inside, 3 children, which correspond to these 3 things as you may expect. So you don't actually have to modify this file. Everything that you have to modify is in the style.css. If we click on it and it opens up, and you see there is a selector for any element with a class container, and inside it's empty, except for these comments. The comments are to-dos, to do 1 and to do 2, and they give you what you need to know to complete this exercise. At level 1, they give you lots of information. What you have to do is to read through this, and then essentially this thing tells you to add display flex style to the container element. Once you do it, you could remove this thing if you want to, and then you save. And you see that the change immediately is visible in the browser. If you don't see the change immediately, you may have to refresh the page. The to-do number 2 essentially tells you to add this justify content style. Then if you save, you see this thing looks like the solution. So we are done here. If you want, you can remove this comment. Obviously, go through the to-dos in order. First to-do number 1, then to-do number 2, and so on. Once you're done, you may move into the level 2. And here we have an index.html file again, which is exactly the same, and a style.css, which also has some to-dos, but you have way less information. You are not so much handheld anymore. So once you complete this, go to the level 3 folder, and the same again, you see a style.css, which has even less information. You complete it. Then once you're done, you go to exercise B, which as you can see looks similar. It also has a README file with the final result. You also can actually open the HTML in your browser to see your version and the final result. And then you would repeat the same to complete all the exercises up to J. Once you're done, I would really appreciate to have your feedback. And for this, in the instructions file, I added a link to a Google form that you may fill if you feel so inclined. I really hope that you try this tutorial and it's useful to you in some way and that you enjoy it and you find it interesting. And please, if you do, leave me some feedback because that's the only way for me to improve.